I will call this public hearing to order. Ms. Malforce, will you please take the roll?
President Spear.
Here.
Vice President Osborne.
Here.
Member Gresham.
Here.
Member Holcomb.
Here.
And Member Causey is not present at the moment.
We have a quorum. Moving on to 1.3, Dr. Baca, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the Governing Board and Executive Team. As you know, by law, we are required to present the proposed budget that 2 weeks ago we presented to you. So Ms. Garvey, our Deputy Superintendent, will present the proposed budget in order for you to officially adopt it for the 21-22 school year. Ms. Garvey?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Board and Executive Team. As Dr. Baca mentioned, this was the proposed budget that was presented at the last meeting. It has been available for public review for the last 2 weeks, and tonight is our public hearing. As you may remember, these are preliminary forms that are being issued by the Auditor General as the state has not passed a budget even as of today. So there were a few modifications in the forms that actually were based on legislation that was passed. It was the modified use of the classroom site fund. It removed lines for the district additional assistant reduction, so we now do receive full funding for capital. It added a line for remote instructional time adjustments in the case that your brick and mortar schools had some students learning remotely, and it updated the qualifying tax rate and the weighted per pupil allocation for the classroom site fund. Because a lot of the items in the budget are actually based on our full revenue control limit, we did put in increases that we believe are going to happen so that our override amounts can be based on the correct amounts. There was an increase to the base support level in maintenance and operations for inflation of 1.21%, and funding that was moved from the classroom site fund over to maintenance and operations that represented the last 5% of the governor's 20 by 20 initiative. That is now all funded in maintenance and operations and will receive inflation every year going forward. Some Group B special ed weights did increase. There were 2 categories that increased. You can see those categories down there and what they went from and what they went to. They are also discussing adding a new gifted weight. We currently do not have a weight for gifted, and this would add a 0.007 for every gifted student. Transportation support level was also increased by the inflation amount of 1.21%. When we look at this in total dollars, those items amounted to an increase in our budget of $1.2 million. Back in April, the governing board approved budget commitments. Those are all listed here. It was salaries and benefits of 1.5% for all employees. It was phase 1 or step 1 to decompress salaries and to increase the HSA contribution from $1,200 to $1,300. In addition to that, there's a substitute pilot for guest teacher pay to see the impact that that will have on our guest teachers for next year. Our total maintenance and operation budget is $39.9 million, and our total capital budget is $9.1 million. The classroom site fund was originally approved by voters in 2001. It was good for 20 years, so it expired this current year that we're just ending. The legislature did extend the funding through 2041, and expanded what we can use those funds for. So currently, up until this point, it's really been restricted to certified staff. The funds have all been now combined into one fund instead of having to break them out. And the biggest add to it, most of this list did exist in the past, but being able to spend the funds on student support services was the big change. The total budget for next year is almost $7 million. Our major federal and state grants are Title I, Title II, IDEA Part B, which is special ed. Our other federal projects, that's really comprised of our ESSER II and ESSER III funds and results-based funding. The average teacher salary is on the front cover of the budget. It is also required to be posted on our website and will be after budget adoption. The average salary of all teachers employed for next year is $57,149. The average teacher salary of all teachers in the current year that we are is $56,304. That represents that 1.5% salary increase that was given to all staff. The total percentage increase since 2018, when the governor's 20 by 20 initiative went in, is 24%. And that's it. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from board members? Doesn't appear to have any questions. Thank you again for presenting the budget as required by law for us to present it a second time. Actually, a third time.
And Madam President,
yes.
before you adjourn, just publicly speaking, there were no calls to the public regarding any comment to the budget.
Thank you for that update. No calls to the public. I will accept a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Osborne, seconded by Mr. Holcomb. Please vote. It's not set up for a vote. We'll take a voice vote. All those in favor of adjourning this public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes. Moving on to our special meeting opening. I will call this meeting to order in an official gavel form. Let's see. I will go ahead and lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will accept a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Osborne, seconded by Mr. Holcomb. Please vote. That motion passes. The agenda has been adopted. Moving on to action items. 3.1. Dr. Baca, would you please introduce this item?
Madam President, I just ask that you adopt the budget as presented by Ms. Garvey during the public hearing.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Holcomb, seconded by Dr. Osborne. Please vote. And for anyone watching, there's always a little bit of a lag time from the time we click aye or nay to when it shows up, and that motion passes. Moving on to 3.2, Dr. Baca, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the governing board and executive team. As you know, each year becomes increasingly difficult to fill hard-to-fill positions, such as in special education and specialized areas, especially in math. What we are proposing here is, in order to fill vacancies that we currently have no candidates for, particularly 3 positions in math and 1 in special education, we are asking that you approve an agreement with our existing partner with ESI to be able to host international teacher exchange program through the Department of State. What these agreements will do is, with ESI, execute the ability to hire candidates that they have vetted, and then through Green Heart, the visas that would be necessary for the international teacher program. So with that, I recommend and I ask that you approve this item.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from board members? Dr. Osborne.
Dr. Baca, just real quick, we're using all recruitment options, so we're not just using this as our recruitment tool, but just so everyone's clear in the public that this is another tool in the toolbox.
Yes, Dr. Osborne, Madam President, members of the board and executive team, we will follow our normal hiring procedures when there are candidates. As a matter of fact, we would go to that first if there's qualified candidates. This is just another way in which to do that, since we currently do not have any of the other candidates available to us.
I have a question.
Yes.
So these candidates would be temporary, correct? Are they here for 1 school year or how long?
Ms. Gresham, Madam President, members of the governing board and executive team, as with every non-continuing teacher staff, they're on a year-to-year contract. For international, usually it's 1 to 3 years. However, we would have the option at the end of the year not to continue their employment.
And is there, I guess, is there a way for them, if they wanted to stay, would they be able to be hired on if they were to move here or something? Or?
Depending on their status in terms of their citizen status, it would depend on whether or not they would be able. Otherwise, it is a temporary assignment. Similar to student exchange programs, it's a teacher exchange program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holcomb?
Yeah, I just want, we've looked at this before, and we'll explore this when we've had, issues about hiring teachers. It's a widely used program.
Thank you. I know that we have reviewed this in prior years, and I do support this. With that, is there a motion?
I move we approve item 3.2.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Moved by Dr. Osborne, seconded by Ms. Gresham. Please vote. That motion passes. Moving on to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Osborne, seconded by Mr. Holcomb. Please vote.
And as you're waiting for the vote on behalf of the governing board, administration, and staff, go Suns.
That motion passes. This meeting is adjourned. Go Suns.
So Lori, the Senate